This is a fun question for me. Ganesh in Australia writes, I was blown away by the Audiophiles Companion CD, and I expected the same quality from all the Octave records and purchased Clandestine Amigo. That's my album, in case you didn't know. But the sound quality and soundstage is not quite what I expected. Sorry if I come across rude, but I feel that you have not done the right thing by the artist. I am supporting Octave Records, so I in the process of ordering other albums on your website, but I hope the soundstage and quality is as good as your references Audiophiles Companion disc. The other reference CD I use is closer to the music by Stockfish Records. Well, let me tell you about Temporary Circumstances and recording that. So that was actually the first record started on Octave. It was the second one to actually release. So Don Grusin released first. His album was much quicker to do. My album was actually planned as a piano and vocal album with nothing else on it. So when we went in to record it, I recorded all my piano parts, I think in a day, and then Giselle and I came in and did vocals, and that was it. We were done. And Paul McGowan listened to it and he said, it's good, it's nice, but could you maybe make it more interesting? And we said, sure. What do you want to hear on it? And he said, maybe some drums, maybe some horns, like find some interesting elements to add to these songs. And so we ended up bringing in my drummer that I play with live, Michael Wooten. We brought in Kyle Donovan on guitar. I hired a horn section from the Burroughs, they're a really great Colorado band that plays soul music, and Chris Brunhaver, who is the amazing speaker wizard at PS Audio, who created the FR30s. He had just started at the company, and Gus Guinness was recording the album. And I had never met Chris. He had Chris come in and do some bass parts. And he told me, just listen to it, and if you don't like it, I'll take it off. And I listened to it, and I thought it was great. So that's actually how I met Chris. He played on my music before I'd even met him. So this album, Temporary Circumstances, started as one thing and evolved into something completely different. And it was an interesting learning process because once I did it that way, I realized when you record in DSD, you can really hear when people are playing live in the room together. And even though we overdubbed parts that were good, somehow it didn't retain the magic of what the acoustic version of that album has. Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I have the acoustic version of that album before we changed it. I don't have the DSD version, but I did put it out on streaming, so you can find it on Spotify. I'd be curious what you think to listen to the acoustic version compared to the version with the overdubbed instruments. Now, the next album we did, Things Worth Remembering with Clandestine Amigo, I had learned so much. With Temporary Circumstances, we really did it kind of backwards. And so when we got into the studio again and did Things Worth Remembering, we recorded the piano, drums, and bass all at the same time. We played live. The piano and drums were actually in the same room, so we could not break those instruments apart. There are no overdubs for piano and drums. They are married together. I had a ghost singer, Katie Mintle, who actually sings 3 songs on the album as a guest. She was in another room and she sang all of my parts, so I could just focus on piano and have, a really, without having to sing my vocals, because vocals are something that you do kind of want to go back and overdub if it's not a live recording. So with that album, I feel like we really did it right and we did the songs justice. I actually agree with you on Temporary Circumstances. I think it feels a little green to me, and it was. That's the first album that I actually ever self-produced. So it was very much a learning experience, and because it was the second release on Octave, And then I actually came on and started working for Octave after that album, and I knew how the process went. I didn't let any of the other artists do it that way. I had learned how it probably should be done. So I agree. The albums that follow, Temporary Circumstances, I think sound better, but it's still fun to have, that album and look at it as a learning experience. And again, I'd be curious what you think about the acoustic version. So thank you for the question. I hope, you're not being too hard on me. It definitely doesn't come across as rude, because I share your sentiment on that. So listen to things worth remembering and see if we didn't do it right the next time. Thanks.